check out his channel. Thank you for joining us, Drew. And Night Nurse is a loves Sagittarius. I love all zodiac signs. There's such a long description of every single sign because it's a symbol. It's a complicated symbol. You represent a symbol. And so often when we look at a birth chart, we look at what your symbol tells us. Where are you going to have problems? Where are you going to have success? Who's going to love you? Who are you going to love? Will you have fulfillment in certain different areas? So then what we do is we take all of that knowledge and, just translating those birth charts. And then suddenly everybody gets a little bit curious as to the crime charts. And really the crime chart is a birth chart. So we're looking at the stresses, the harmony, what went well, what didn't go well, who's lying, who is telling the truth, what do the witnesses look like? What are the names that might be coming up? And with Leo, well, that could be Taylor because these charts are very literal. Taylor, tail, Leo. We have a lot of names with S-O-N or S-E-N is sun. So sun is representative of Leo. So I'll just say hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Thanks to everyone new who's coming in. And yes, Trina, we're excited too. And I just saw that Amy Jae joined us in the green room. So I'm going to bring her in a second. I just wanted to tell you a couple of things. A full-on stereotypical Scorpio. Now that's going to be an interesting discussion. Kim, great to see you. I know. Well, it's a fascinating topic, and it's the topic itself of astrology and forensic astrology, but the crime itself, the true crime aspect of it. We want to know answers. We're not trying to disrespect anyone, the victims. We're not trying to leverage anything. We are analysts, the people who join me. They want to take a look at something. They want to investigate. And there's some really good investigators on too. Some people notice things that I don't. So, Trina, you love my channel, and also Trev 757. I'm not sure what that is. Hello from New Mexico. Summer Ray, always great to see you. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to advance here to the crime chart, and this is for this time is around 4:20. Okay, when I was first doing the crime chart in November, at the very end of November of last year, when we just heard about this crime, I think I did it for 3 o'clock, and it didn't really matter too much. It's sort of like when things are starting to culminate anyway. But this is a really interesting chart because look where the ascendant. The ascendant lies at 22 degrees, which is the kill or be killed degree. A lot of people get worried about that in their birth charts. I have 22, but sometimes it's just a dangerous degree. I see that in charts where people, they come face to face with something. They don't necessarily die or kill anyone. So forensic astro, hey Grace, what's the alibi? Well, just wait a second, all right? You have no patience. Let's see. And Trevor, who is this Trevor? I want to know who he is. So let's see. Oh, yes, Kelly. Boise, Idaho, Vallow sentencing tomorrow. A lot of stuff going on up there. We're talking about Idaho, Moscow. This is a very Neptunian energy that's hitting this area of Idaho right now. So we're talking about cults and drugs, and it's just devastating to the people who just want to live there and go to school and not have this influence. Another representative of Neptune. So we're going to look at the 420 chart, and I'm going to bring in Amy Jae. Hey, Amy, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you, Val?
I'm doing great. Hang on, I'm going to put myself on mute for 1 second. Sorry about that. Dry throat. Now that was an intro, huh? So, Amy, what have you been up to?
I've been camping with my grandkids and just
Oh,
enjoying my summer. It's been
that's
beautiful.
well, Leo is camping.
Oh, and I'm a Leo rising.
Yes, and so sometimes in crime charts, when we're seeing a lot of Leo, we see sports, we'll see golf, see camping, we'll see a campsite. So that's what's interesting. Well, it's good that you're getting out and enjoying the summer.
Yeah.
Tonight, we're talking about a couple of things. First of all, we're talking about are people still looking at that truck that was at 420? Because sometimes things change and I don't see, they're like, oh, that wasn't anything. But I'm gonna show, let me see here.
I don't know. I haven't heard about the truck. So that's one question I had for you. I wasn't.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Let's see. Here we go. All right. You guys take a look at this. Some of you have already seen this. At 422. Now this sounds like it's in the hard direction. So 423. How about that? And let's Shine Louder. That's a channel on YouTube. So very interesting. I don't know. It's somebody who's pulling out, and let me show you where it's pulling out of.
Seems like there's kind of two camps on that, just like everything in this case. It's a nothing burger or no, it's something. I've kind of, now that you've showed it to me, I'm like, I have seen something on that. And it's kind of, again, this whole case, he's guilty, he's not guilty. It's always
Yes. And Joan, is that a Jeep?
Gemini, it's two.
I know. Joan, is that a Jeep? I was thinking the same thing. It looked like a Jeep. And this is just real close. Look at how Taylor, a Leo name. Also, Ann Taylor is representing Kohberger. So lots of Leo, but this is going on right near the murders at the time of the murder. So it sounds pretty fishy. I'm sure that the police are all over this. The FBI, they're checking out who this could possibly be, who was leaving that house. It seems like very coincidental timing at the very least. So all right, I'm going to stop.
And that's what this whole case has been about, different explanations, two explanations, two things, two people, Taylor Street and Ann Taylor. It's just, there's so much of that Gemini, energy in there.
I know. And then on top of it, like this, the Ann Taylor looks like it's just uncanny how she looks like some of the other players in this, or should I say victims. So that's, we're just going to keep seeing that twin theme. Of course, in astrology, a triplet would be a twin as well. Just anybody who looks like each other. As an example, Cindy Crawford's chart, she has that she's going to have a daughter that's going to be a twin. She has Gemini in her chart. So if you have a lot of planets in Gemini, you're going to be maybe possibly seeing some twin themes in your life. Okay, so this is the crime chart, and I'm just going to explain real quick. The ascendant is in Libra, and Libra is represented by Venus. And Venus is the chart ruler for this crime chart, which was at 4:20 a.m., which is what I pulled it for, on November 13th, 2022. And Venus is right next to Mercury, which is the planet of twins. So we have, people who look alike, who are in this second house. What are they doing? The second house is eating. So you can kind of get at least that initial, and not necessarily that they were eating at that moment, but you're going to see themes about this case that have to do with eating. Yes, we get this comment a lot. Triplets in astrology mean twins. So anybody who looks alike. So yes, exactly. And there are a lot of other people that look just like other people, and they don't even have to be related. You might have a friend who looks exactly like you, and that's a Gemini influence, which was the case with Kaylee and actually a lot of her friends. They had that just the same type of look, and they also sounded young because they had Gemini in their charts, and that can make you sound much younger than you actually are. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So I am going to forward this to the North Node and the South Node real quick. I wanted to show you this because on the left is the North Node. That's the alibi. It often shows deception. It's somebody who says, well, I wasn't there. I was somewhere else. The South Node, and this is from what I've seen in my research, open to anybody else's theories, but the South Node tends to be the truth, what actually happens. So when you see these opposite, and these are nodes of the moon, when you see the opposite in a chart, you look for what was actually happening versus what somebody will lie about. What will someone try to say they were doing? So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So let me just go real quick to that, to refer to that video with potentially a neighbor, a person who lived near King Road. And why are we looking at the neighbor? Because, well, let's just look at the third house. When we look at neighbors, we want to look at the third house and see where the Lord of the third is. And I circled where it is.
Sorry, that was
That's a sign. Rebecca, no worries.
There we go. Should be quieter.
Yeah. Hang on one second. Okay, sorry. I can't get it together this morning or tonight. I only said that for the people across the world who are watching this. So, all right. There's a theory that BK may have worn EC shoes to leave would it be Ethan's shoes?
Mm-hmm.
To leave the crime scene. Interesting. Boy, there's a lot of theories. But getting to the neighbor, this would be Jupiter. I circled it. The neighbor might be a little drunk because Neptune is right next to Jupiter. Jupiter in retrograde means this person is not at full capacity. He's, there's something that has to do with the drug and alcohol element. There could be somebody who is not at his full strength. He can't do what he wants to do. He is a disappointment to himself and others. Okay. So with Jupiter, look at how that big red line, which I added there, to Mars, which is the perp, allegedly Bryan Kohberger. There's a square there. And so it's like, okay, so why is that happening? Why is there a neighbor squaring the perp? Well, an example or an explanation might be where they wanted to go and do something, but they argued about what they were actually going to do. Like, dude, what are you doing? I thought we were going to do this and that, and kind of off balance and drunk. And then the other guy, maybe the perp, says, no, just I'll handle this. Just open the door. So there's a little bit of disharmony, which is what a square would be between two people. So it potentially could be someone who lived in that neighborhood and the perp. So that's my theory on the neighbor. Let's take a couple of comments. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we still don't know. There's some dogs involved here, which would be, well, it would be the 6th house. And Jupiter is right up, coming up to the 6th house of pets. And interesting how in this crime chart, Chiron, which means to harm, to hurt, is in the 6th house of pets. So I might have mentioned that before. So let's see. Natalie has a good question. Does your forensic astrology degrees and all apply the same when you do a Vedic chart? Just wondering. You can still read, just like a birth chart, you can still get information. So I've gotten a lot of interest lately in that, and something I'd like to do a little bit more down the road. Thank you, Wanda. Great to see you. Hi, Val and Amy. Interesting discussion. Let's see. So anyway, let's get on with it. All right,
this is a neighbor of the perp, like as in if we're looking at BK as the perp, like a neighbor of where he lived, as opposed to the neighbor at the house.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it could apply to both.
Okay.
That's a very good insight, because it's like suddenly all the neighbors come out and they're like, I used to jog with him, or that guy was weird. I think it would apply more to the people who thought, who didn't have a nice thing to say about it.
Okay. I wondered about that.
Yes. So now we're going to look at the alibi real quick. And I pointed to the moon up at the top, but you can see down in the 7th house, I labeled the alibi, which is the north node. And here, Amy, is where I wonder if we can get some answers from the cards once I explain this. And yes, we're going to get Amy to draw a card in a second, but we got to put this together here. What's the alibi? Well, we've got the north node in the 7th house. Now, the 7th house shows the profile of the perpetrator. It is, at this time, it's hitting Aries. So that's why in the very beginning, we got that you might be interested in military. There might be some military themes. Of course, there were, because of the sheep that was left behind and the Marine Corps theme and all of that. But now we look into the 7th house. What's in there? Well, there's an alibi in there. And what's next to it? Uranus. Uranus is in green, and it's shocking, a shocking alibi. This person will give potentially a shocking alibi, which he has. So I want to go real quick to, one second. Here we go. Okay, so this is from ABC 13 about Bryan Kohberger and his alibi. Prosecutors requested the defense be required to provide information within 10 days of a potential court order, according to the motion. Okay. Evidence corroborating Mr. Kohberger being at a location other than King Road, the King Road address, will be disclosed pursuant to discovery and evidentiary rules, as well as statutory requirements, defense attorney Ann Taylor wrote in a court document filed Monday. It is anticipated this evidence may be offered by way of cross-examination of witnesses produced by the state, as well as calling expert witnesses. Okay, so they're going to interview the state's witnesses, and then they're also going to have their own witnesses. So there you go. Now, right, so let me take this off.
Which is very interesting when I heard that. It's saying his alibi is going to be provided by the state's witnesses. And so you're thinking, yes, there's going to be professionals that are going to talk about phone pings and stuff like that.
Of course.
But you also go back to the roommates.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because now let me, I'm going to have to describe the chart. We're going to get to the cards. So just try to stay with me here. You're going to see something here with, and I'm talking to everyone, not you, Amy. You already know. We need to set the groundwork. So North Node, Alibi, and we're seeing a point of Thales. What is the point of Thales? It's that little line, the blue line, and then the longer blue line. It's like a right angle there. And it points to the arrow or the moon. I'm pointing to the moon up there, if you see that. And that kind of saves the day for the perp. Now it's in the ninth house, so it could be a person who is right around that university. Ninth house is university. It also shows that if you see Mars in that same house and it's in the same house as this point of Thales right at the top, it shows that this person might know of each other. Oh yeah, I saw him come up before a couple of days ago. He was always up there. So maybe he doesn't know these witnesses, but they seem to know of each other according to this, from what I'm reading. Now, yeah, so then I'm going to go and I'm going to circle Black Moon. A Black Moon Lilith is something that we see in all of our charts, and it can be detrimental to what we're trying to do in our lives. We have someone, usually when there's a conjunction like that, this is a person who has a bad motive. Okay, that's Black Moon Lilith, dark, bad, evil. And this person might help with the alibi. So that's my take on that. Now, do you want to take a look? And we've already kind of talked about that, who this person might be. So if you'd rather me ask another question, maybe something a little bit different, let me know. But what do you guys think? What would you like Amy to ask about? I'll just say.
Well, you covered some great things while you're looking at those comments. Is one of the questions I was going to ask you in the chart. Does it show the alibi? Does it show it's perhaps a person? Does it show perhaps that they know each other? And so, wow, you answered all of those questions, which is really fascinating.
And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because right after that chart, I have this chart, which shows, okay, so we've got this, it seems like a female. It seems like, because moon is a female. And this person is like a lusty, like sexy person, possibly. So look, and we've talked about this before. I don't know if you can see how Pluto is straight. It's a straight drop down. It's the downfall of this person. And you can see it. I just highlighted it there. It's like, boom. Now, Pluto is the trash. So there could potentially be some kind of evidence in the trash, something, or Pluto could be investigators too, that they're like, no, this smells bad. And they investigate her and find more things that maybe are detrimental to the case. So Pluto is really a very, very big, and Pluto being Scorpio, I mean, we might as well say Scorpio is going to bring this person down to some extent. So, and then right at the bottom here is being Pluto. You can see it's right, and it could be a person, a jealous person. Pluto's jealous. Pluto is revenge, and they're right outside the door. I see is the door of the home. And so you can see I labeled the inside is the fourth house, the outside is the third house. So it could be somebody around, somebody waiting, somebody hoping that all of this happens, and they're right outside, hoping for some kind of revenge. Now, does it involve drugs? I think it's a possibility. So, so what do you think? What kind of cards should we draw? What kind of questions should we ask?
Well, let's see. What does anybody have one? But boy, there's a lot right there. I have to agree with you. I really think they really believe that his alibi is going to be produced. And I really had that feeling. That's why I asked you those questions, that it's going to be produced by someone he knows.
Yes.
And someone that's was in the house, and someone that's close to the case. Without mentioning names, but I really did feel that way. And I think that also, like you said, I think that it might not be a real strong connection. Like you said, maybe just met before or something like that. I
Yes.
also think there might be, it could be through just recreational. I'm not saying anyone's a dealer or anything like that, but just maybe some recreational exchanging of drugs or something.
Possibly.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Shelley's got
Will anyone be arrested for this crime? Well, I've asked that card before, or I've asked that question before.
Okay, so how about this? Instead of doing that one, how about we ask about who's in that car? That
We can do that.
possible Jeep. Should we do that?
Well, we can if you want to.
And is there anything that you do when you're pulling cards? Do you focus on it?
I usually ask the question. I usually get the question in my mind. I try to focus on the question, and I just shuffle until something comes out. But yeah, I kind of like to have the question, because if I'm asking too many, then it's just like,
I know it's chaos.
But yeah, we can ask, or is the person in the car suspicious
Or involved?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the person in the car suspicious or involved? All right, let me see here. Whoa. Oh, there's a few cards that come out, but this is what's that?
Well, that always happens. So something
Yeah.
comes out, like, oh my God.
Yeah, it always comes out, and usually it's like a really, really big story.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just I don't know how to shuffle. So I have to always feel into that too. Are all these cards meant to come out or not? I got the 2 of Cups. And so this is like a choices card, but I feel like that they aren't involved. I feel like that was probably someone who, and of course, there's always 2s in this. So was he involved? Was he not involved? There's always, the Gemini energy. But I feel like this person, maybe even with the card, it's not giving me a lot. Let me, shuffle some more. But I feel like this person was just on their way to work.
That's wild. That's wild.
Maybe just going someplace they needed to go.
Okay. It's likely that they knew of the victims because it's a party town. It's 1-2 streets ahead. So maybe this person with that hand holding, I mean, it could have been just somebody's boyfriend that was leaving.
Well, that's maybe why there's 2 answers. Yes, maybe they knew him, but maybe they're not involved. You know what I mean? There were 2 choices there, because I don't really feel like they were involved. I feel like they were just doing their normal business,
They certainly didn't seem like they were fleeing the crime or anything.
No. And their Jeep or their truck or whatever it was not very incognito either, because it was loud.
Yes.
It made a lot of noise.
What confuses me a little bit is that early on, we were talking about a white truck and a black truck.
Oh, yeah.
So it is a black truck. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and white truck has come up a lot. It came up on earlier, in different conversations and stuff, and other people had mentioned that they had heard or that they had got, because like you said, there's a lot of great people on here that pull their own cards, that do their own forensics, that do their own investigating. So I love that. And so, we're not always right. We'll just listen to, what you guys have to say and that kind of thing. So I don't ever claim to be 100% accurate, but white truck has come up a lot. And so actually, when you said something about the truck, I was thinking they were talking about the white truck.
Well, in the card it says, let me think about this. On that last card, it's black and white. So black and white truck, maybe 2, like you said, 2 things. Cups could be drinking, or consuming something. And is that 2 of Cups? Is that how it works?
Okay. 2 of Cups. Yeah. 2 of Cups is about relationships, feelings, emotions, that kind of thing. When that expression, like fill my cup up, that's it's an emotional part of it. But
that's kind of like a Gemini card, because that's like, they look alike, those cups. Gemini represents a witness. So I wonder if what we're looking at is a potential witness that's going to come forward. That's a possibility.
Right, because it was right around that time.
Yeah, like, so sir, you didn't see anything, you didn't see this white car when you were on Taylor Avenue and you were driving there exactly at the same
Yeah.
time, that kind of stuff. So,
It really is a little bit frustrating on the part of our part that we don't have more information. But like you said, I'm sure the authorities, the law enforcement were all over that person. And if they lived there, you know, they would, you know, could say, I'm going to work, I'm doing this. You know, if they were a visitor, it could be something else. But
yeah,
all right. So,
okay. Oh, here's one. Can you ask if the boyfriend does have info that could help Bryan Kohberger?
oh, okay. You know, that's interesting, Angel, because I wasn't thinking of BF. I was thinking of DM.
I don't know. I think maybe no, I'm sorry. It's not boyfriend. It's Bethany. Sorry.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Does
So,
she have info that could help him? Well, you're right, because they wanted to subpoena her, and that was
and inadvertently help him, maybe. I
true.
mean, or I don't know. But maybe she is that witness.
Okay.
So this one's about
Oh,
Bethany.
does she have info that could help BK? Well, this is interesting because first I got the Page of Wands, and look, she looks really jubilant here. She looks really happy about this, but we know that that's really not her demeanor because so this could maybe mean two things. It could mean that yes, she does, but she's not happy about it. I mean, maybe for some reason she wants to see him, you know, maybe that he has a part in it and she wants to see justice be served, because I also got the 10 of Swords, which she means she's trying to walk away. She's trying to walk away from all of this. She doesn't want to be a part of this anymore. So it's possible that she does have something, but I don't feel like that she's really happy about it, because she's trying to walk away from this. And maybe that's where we had that resistance from her. If you think about the news where she's like, I'm not coming back, I'm not testifying.
She's trying to put it behind her, but
Yeah. So gosh, I'm feeling like that, you know, that maybe she does have something. Now, will it exonerate him? I don't know, but does she know something? I feel like she knows something, but she's not happy about having that information because of the chance that it might exonerate him.
that is, it's kind of disturbing seeing that first card.
Yeah.
Like, what could she now? Maybe she was having a great time and she was having fun doing something. That could be, it could just be innocuous and simple. But there was something definitely that she seemed jubilant about. That's interesting. Okay. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is, I wanted to show you something else. Okay. That was Pluto opposing this witness. So something's going to go down there. The downfall of the witness. And no, I went ahead. Oh well, we'll talk about him a little bit later.
Oh boy.
But,
Yeah.
let me see here. Yeah, well, you can kind of get a description of, here it is. I'm going to share my screen. Oops. Hang on a second. Okay. What we want to do when we look at a description of somebody is we want to look at the ascendant. The ascendant means name. It means description of the person, what they looked like. And it doesn't necessarily mean the victim. It can mean anything where some kind of line, meaning aspect, touches the ascendant. And this is something I just learned in my studies for the past few years. Just, I just looked at it over and over and over again, and it would give me some kind of clue as to the description of the person. So let's look at it. Okay, can you see it? Yeah, okay. You see how the ascendant, there's a red line there, and it goes really to the moon and that conjunction, the moon and black moon Lilith. So this person's name might be Libra-like, might be a very beautiful name. It might have a Cancer type of name, which could be, there's a whole bunch of names, types of names for Cancer. One example might be like in the Delphi case, Manan was the name of the trail, so Manan Moon. So you can kind of get a little bit of a flavor of somebody's either their name, and I think both. And I also think that with that aspect to Libra, this person could be musically inclined, could be beautiful or have a beautiful name. And it's interesting, there's a T-square there with Pluto too. So definitely something Libra-like, which is usually beauty or music, and maybe even like, because of Black Moon Lilith, it could be some kind of like a sexy name. Now, the other thing too is you see the aspect to the second house to Scorpio. And when you think of Scorpio, like I always say, I think of the Kardashians and their black hair. So it's probable that this person has very dark hair because of moon aspecting all of those planets in Scorpio. I mean, it's not just one. It is a ton of people in there because planets represent people. And being in Scorpio, especially Mercury representing witnesses. That means maybe the witnesses are Scorpio types. Could be, I don't know, OnlyFans, strippers, prostitutes, people who are underground doing things. There's a lot of good things about Scorpio too, like investigations, researchers, psychologists. I have a feeling we're going to see some psychologists coming in. That's a lot of psychologists. And one thing I noticed too with birth charts is I'm going to say 90% of the time, if you have some Scorpio, you are going to have some kind of element in your life where there might be a teen pregnancy. There might be a lot of pregnancies because Scorpio represents pregnancy. Look at Nick Cannon's birth chart, who is the father of, I guess, 10 kids,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The person might have gone into the sex industry or something with a sexy type of, way of maybe making money, which is what's in this chart. And it can also mean rape too. I have to say that a very high number of people who have a stellium in Scorpio, either they were raped or somebody they know, somebody in their family, their mother, their daughter. So it can be it can be a very dangerous sign. And when people have that experience and this is described to them for the first time, they can't believe it. They're like, this is amazing how this chart can reflect what my experience was, and often very, very dangerous. Okay, so let me, okay. What's this here? Cami says, I believe 2 murders happened at another place. That's intriguing.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, so you're going to see, and remember, we had one of the victims' sisters gave birth and named the baby after the victim. So there, immediately you saw that. I thought it was also interesting. This is another aside because of the Kardashians. You know how I love to talk about them. And in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago, Kim was sitting at her party and her mother almost gave the reins, just like in The Godfather, where suddenly Michael Corleone was like, he suddenly became the boss of the family. And so Kris Kardashian says, you're really the head of this family. It was like almost a torch being past. And so that's very Scorpio as well. So there's, how would it apply here? Well, rituals, the family. Scorpio is very, very focused on the family.
Yeah.
So, I know people are going to want to.
Well, I'm gonna pull a card and ask about the other roommate.
Okay, great.
I just want to see, does she have something to do with his alibi? So does DM have something to do with his alibi? Okay, well, I'm moving my cards here. I don't have enough room. Let me pull another one. Okay, interesting. Okay. So I pulled and for those of you that maybe are just seeing me for the first time too, I read them, I read the cards more like oracle cards than tarot cards. So just for that explanation. But I have the Six of Swords here. And so she was just talking about dark hair, which I think is really interesting. But this person is, I feel like they're moving away. They're trying to move. Again, both witnesses are trying to move away with this. But this is, I almost feel like this is that she's not able to get away. They're kind of staying with her. I think that she is definitely, I really feel, and I've done other cards pulled on this. I really feel that DM knows him, knows BK, and I think it's not a real, it's not a real long relationship or deeply involved. I think again, it maybe more just based on some drug exchanging between them, but I think that she definitely knows him, and she's not able to get away because those crows are still with her. And actually, they have the string of the boat, if you can see that. So even though that's her desire, she's still attached to this. And it's really interesting because there's like 6 of them, but 3 of them are pulling the boat where they want it to go. So I do feel like she has knowledge and awareness. And when Val was talking about that line coming down from the top, the bottom, Pluto,
Yes.
that she is not going to be able to conceal that. It's going to come out. And
Secrets
I
come
don't
out.
feel
Yes.
it's going to be very good for her.
That's amazing. Yes.
Just don't think it's going to be good for her right now. I got the world upside down, and her world is upside down. And when she gets in court and when they start talking to her and asking things, it's completely going to flip her world around because she has information about this. And there's probably some things that maybe I don't know. I'm not going to go there, but I just feel like it's not going to be good for her. It's not going to be a good look for her. The 6 of Pentacles was also upside down. A lot of 6s this time, huh? Interesting. I'm not big on numerology, so somebody on numerology tell me what the 6s are. But I just really feel like these are, usually they're up like this and you're kind of in control of them. And this is like, it's all over the place. Like things
What are they holding?
Huh?
What are they holding?
The Pentacles. Well, I had it upside down, but I can show it to you right way. The Pentacles. And Pentacles are,
okay.
Huh?
I thought it was fruit.
Oh, no, they're just circles that look like pentacles. It's funny because both of the circles came upside down. So it's going to come full circle for her. I really feel like it is. And
I'm just amazed at that woman who, and she has come up in the past readings too. She keeps coming up with the black hair, and she's on a boat. What the heck does that mean? Like, what's the boat? And there's water. So, are we going to be seeing? Like, sometimes these things are very uh, literal. Like, is there a boat that's going? Are we going to see it, or is it just a metaphor? I don't know. I think,
symbolic. Is it symbolic, or is the
maybe it's the name of a street, or
or
rock the
something
boat.
to do with water? I know a lot of people have said this, and I believe this as well, that the knife is in water. And I got very, very early on that it was in holy water. So that tells me it's, something. It doesn't necessarily mean it's in holy water, but it has a connotation to holy water. And I know there's a Priest River, but that's quite a far away from where this happened. But there's a Priest Lake
That's right.
in the area, but I don't know. But then I was going through my notes earlier, and I saw like I saw a statue of a boy fishing, and he was pointing. And in my notes, I wrote down that he was pointing towards the knife. So I also wondered too, is there a statue somewhere? Is it and if you're talking about a boat, could it be someplace where people fish? I don't know. It was just weird that I found that today. Holy water is water in a cemetery. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you. And by the way, thank you, Nora, for sending me that YouTube with the Linda Lane truck. Nora was the one that sent that. And check out her channel, guys. She's amazing at numerology. 6 can mean hidden enemies in astrology. And but do you think she was feeding the birds? Like, could that be somebody, or no, it was just the strings. Like
no, it was strings. I know it's hard to see in there, but it just was,
was strings. It was like he's pulling their strings, or somebody's.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you said that he's pulling her strings.
Or somebody's pulling somebody's strings.
Oh,
Nora says Ethan is from Priest Lake.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Wow, that's crazy too. And there's 3 of them. 3 birds that have a hold of the strings. The other 3 don't.
And they're pulling the boat along.
And they're pulling the boat along. And I've always said I felt 3 perpetrators, or 3 people involved in some way. And I got to tell you what else I found in my notes. And again, you can agree with me or disagree with me. I don't take it personally. So I don't. It doesn't matter. But I found in my notes that I always got the feeling after they talked about what Dylan said, that she was led to tell a certain story. And initially I went to law enforcement, maybe coerced her, or just kind of wanted her to say certain things, maybe didn't coerce, but just kind of coaxed her a little bit. Or so are you saying this kind of thing? And when I went back through my notes today, I had wrote, no, it wasn't LE, it was BK. Wow. That fed her the answers, that brought her along, that told her what to say.
So
that's just,
it looks like they're pulling her along, and she doesn't want to go, but she's along for the ride.
She can't get out of the boat.
She can't get out of the boat. She's up too high.
No, the water's too rough. Water's too rough.
And what's she doing with her hands? Or her hand or something? She's like pulling or something. And do you think that?
Okay, interesting. She's holding her hair. The heck does that mean? And the other hand,
let's see it.
It's just down by her side. Oh, she's got a suitcase in the other hand. Because she's trying to get away. So the one hand, she's got a suitcase. And the other hand, she's holding her hair. Which is like, okay, I don't know.
She's got baggage.
Yeah.
She's got baggage.
Oh, yeah, she's got baggage.
Wow.
Water's the only smart way to get rid of knife. Yeah.
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 Now, I want to go back to one of the comments about the Kardashians
Okay.
and how Shelley, I think it was saying no sex work. She didn't have any sex work. She's in Scorpio, or she has planets in Scorpio. And then something else, no kids. Well, the other thing too is you can love true crime, so that's a good remedy for Scorpio. And look at the Kardashians, especially Kris. Scorpio means murderer. And so for her, she didn't actually come in contact with someone who wanted to murder her. She just happened to be friends with one of the most famous accused murderers of all time. And then, of
Who
course,
was that? Tell me, who was she? I don't know who she was friends with.
OJ, baby.
Ooh. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, how am I so dumb?
There you go. I know. Well, I mean, it was a while ago, but
Yes, of course,
so
Kardashian.
that's a
Oh,
theme
yeah.
there. So you may
Really?
encounter, you might know somebody who, like, I mean, you might know of the Gilgo Beach. You went to school with them. So there can be those ways that Scorpio can touch you in certain ways, but it
Yeah.
depends. It depends on the aspect. If you are one of your top 3 is in Scorpio, it can affect you a little bit more. If there's lots
I'm
of
Scorpio moon,
yeah, I'm Scorpio moon too.
but I love true crime is kind of like
I know. Thank God for
and I
true
was
crime.
not a sex worker, just for the record. No.
Me neither. But we're Scorpios, so
Yeah.
who knows? Anyway,
I think I'd pass that point, but
so yes, and that another point that I like to make, and she got famous from her leaked sex tape. So
Oh,
yes, and
yeah.
there was
Good
secrets
point.
about the sex tape. So yes, there's that sex, there's the pregnancy, there's everybody's kind of jealous. And what happens too when you have so much Scorpio like we do in this crime chart, everybody's going to be jealous of somebody else. Somebody has something that the other one wants in any and look at the Kardashians, some of them have an amazing husband, but the other one has an ex-husband who might have mental issues and lots of ups and downs. And one year somebody might be more stable than the other, and one might be more famous than the other. So that's the Scorpio, and that'll play out in your family too. Suddenly everybody has something different, and you kind of wish that you had that, and that's that Scorpio, like I said, energy.
You
So
can certainly see it in that chart with just the lives that we're dealing with, the young girls, the college girls,
yes, yeah. And
really.
Chris K was friends with OJ. They used to go out together with OJ and Nicole because Nicole was Chris's best friend. So and Shelley is talking about a young pregnancy. Okay, so yeah, and it can show that maybe some of these pregnancies don't come to term sometimes. Also, I have people who write to me and ask when the best time to get pregnant is. And I always say, wait until Pluto is direct. Pluto represents pregnancy. So Pluto being Scorpio.
That's
So
good to know. I'm going to tell my daughter just the opposite. She has 3.
oh, come on, one more grandkid.
I know.
Okay, so I am going to, let me, this.
Now, I got to ask one question before you. Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
Does it show on the chart if his alibi will be successful?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe you said that, and I just didn't catch it.
Oh, hang on one second. Let me go back to the crime chart. Okay. There's just like in our birth charts and our solar charts, there's like, well, on the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, no. I think that this is going to be such a shocking alibi that it could work. It could cause a reasonable doubt. Now, what we would do is we would look at the court, which is Mercury. Mercury rules the 9th house of courts. And so we go back. Let me see here. And you can see Mercury is in Scorpio. So what does that mean? It means the secret court. So we've got 2 secret courts potentially because Gemini is a twin or 2. So so yes, we already have that secret court thing.
Mhm.
I think that that would be also another potential risk here with this case, is that the secret court, something's going to stop it. It's not, it doesn't look entirely successful. It's like, well, why did you go about it this way? And maybe
Mhm.
it's unconstitutional or something. But Mercury, so easily you can see how the court shows secret court. But let's see, in the second house, I wonder what that is. That's finances, possessions, secret money. So I wonder, I don't know, maybe somebody's getting paid off here. But I think it's 50-50, really. I think and the other reason is that when they started this investigation, Mercury was in retrograde, just like what was happening with OJ. So, and we all saw how,
Mhm.
he escaped with a clean slate. So,
Mhm.
he was not guilty. Now, this could be a mistrial too. Now, look at how Uranus is sextiling the ninth house of courts. So that could be something actually very fast that happens. Uranus is like lightning speed, like things are happening in the court. But with that Mercury being retrograde when they started the investigation, I think that could throw off a lot of things. And we're going to see this Mercury retrograde coming up. We're going to see a lot more things coming out now. So yeah, I'd say he has a good chance now. We really don't know anything right now. I mean,
Right.
enough to give us any kind of inclination if he has any type of hope for getting out of this.
Yeah.
There are some good signs for him, I will say that. And it does show, even though now Ann Taylor right now, she represents Leo. Remember what we were talking about, how
Mhm.
Leo is dealing with shocks right now. And so it's not really good for her. But I'm seeing that she's going to have some level of success.
Yeah. I I have that feeling too, that he's got a good chance of something happening. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not predicting any of that, but I feel like he's got a good chance of being successful.
Yes, exactly. Mom to three kitties, good to see you. Let's see. Okay, so Jim says Brian and Beth were having an affair and Dylan knew about it. That's an alibi. Okay,
Be a good one.
works for me.
I was gonna say that'd be a shocker, wouldn't it?
Now Chrissa D says I'm very Leo-ish. Yes, you know why I love Leos? They always have beautiful hair. A lot of times, they'll be a blonde. I do know people who have had another bad side of Leo is they love smoking.
Oh,
Yeah. And so if you'll see in certain generations, lots of smoking, lots of smoking. They can't do anything without lighting up a cigarette. That was like in the 40s. And you see a lot of Leo influence because it represents burning and heat, and they love to be around heat because they're hot. Janice, it's okay. We're about halfway through, and
Yep.
let's see. Oh, okay. So Nora says BK isn't a slam dunk like Gilgo, Long Island serial killer. Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that's
Well,
a good
that's
secret.
a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other thing, and it's a good thing that I have his or a chart here.
Oh, I am so ready for this.
Yeah, and so you guys continue to ask questions about Idaho if you want, but we're going to look at Rex here. And this is what I got for his chart. It's probably a little bit off with regard to the ascendant and the descendant, but let's take a look at this. On the right, we have in during that year that he was born, this is his birth chart, Jupiter is right conjunct Algol, which is the devil. And when you read certain articles, you will see that people refer to him as the devil.
Mhm.
You can see that there's a trine to the sun. So he gets the sun, when you have a sun trine, it's kind of like where you get your, you you feel good. It's good for your ego, okay? When you have trines to your sun, that's what's good for your ego. And most of the time, an astrologer will tell you, well, you should go towards that. And because it makes you feel good and you do well at it. Well, in this case, being the devil made him feel good. He felt powerful.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of planets in Virgo. So when I see Virgo, I think of pets. I think of somebody who uses work as potentially maybe a ruse or something, which I think he did. And
Yeah.
then also clothing. Often people meaning killers, will use clothing, which is Virgo, and they'll hold on to it as
Mm.
trophies.
Okay.
So we also have a square to moon at 18 degrees now. This is when I drew the chart. It might be 19 or 17, but when I drew it, it's a square to the moon. So what is the moon? Well, the moon is home, 18 evil. So there was an evil home.
Mm.
On the left, you see Uranus. I labeled it. And Uranus comes up in many, I would say 75% of charts that I see of killers, birth charts, they like to strike. That's what Uranus represents, to strike. So, and with a conjunction there, now this is a generational conjunction, the Uranus and Pluto. So it's always going to be in his age group, it's going to be somehow in their charts. It's going to be usually like a huge shock. But for him, he liked to create the shock. And he would do it when he was 10th house at work. So it makes sense if he was born at this time. And I believe this is for noon. I just made it noon. But yeah, so Uranus really plays a part. And then real quick before we chat, look at how Venus is conjunct Mars. Venus is women. One of the victims' names was Amber, which would be Mars. That would give some kind of a description of the person. And then Mars is like he enjoyed hurting them. He enjoyed like maybe the blood. Mars is blood of women. Venus is also blood. Venus in Leo is women with, they're either blonde or they have a lot of hair, and he just enjoyed targeting them and hurting them. So that's why I circled that up, give or take the 8th or 9th house. So and so I usually look at birth charts. I haven't really looked at this, but North Node often shows that that's what you get out of your life. The South Node, which is in the second house, is what you leave behind. So for him, the North Node, I mean, this looks like a good time, because if it's in the 8th house, it shows death, bodies. And the North Node in Gemini could be young deaths. Gemini is young. Gemini is a group, and talking to young people. So it's disturbing. It's just plain
Very disturbing.
disturbing. And another thing, if you guys want to research this, which I'm interested in doing, what was he doing? He was accused of building a room with no sound.
Yeah.
So Mercury is to hear and to talk. And so look at the straight drop down to Saturn, which is to stop. It means death of young people, but also you can't speak. So I'm thinking that might be the aspect for a soundproof room. But
Yep.
the answer is in here. I will say that.
Or just even incapacitating them so they can't talk. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. They're just, yeah, it
Yeah.
means stop.
What I want to see you do a chart on is his wife, because When I saw her picture, and I don't know if anyone else gets this, sometimes when they see a
Careful.
photograph of someone, they might get an impression.
Yes.
I
Careful,
thought,
careful. You're good. I'm just kidding.
well, what I felt was, and I know this didn't come from me because it's not a word that I use in my vocabulary, hate, hate, hate.
Yes.
When I saw her picture, I saw that she hates this man. Now, and I don't use that lightly because I don't think that that's a good word. So I don't use it. So I know it came from her. But I also got a feeling of a little bit of complacency. Like I knew he was up to something bad, but I maybe didn't help him, but I certainly didn't try to stop him. That's the feeling I got. That was just my first impression.
It's interesting. And you can see his wife is Venus
Okay.
there. And because Venus is a man's wife, she's blonde, Leo. And sometimes it doesn't always mean blonde. Sometimes it just means a lot of hair. And Mars is an angry person. Now, Mars in Cancer, that's somebody who's abusive. That automatically means abuse, usually, just talking, crap all the time. And that's a possibility that he was doing that with her or vice versa or together. And there was just that algol, Jupiter at 26 degrees. And that's the strangulation. I would say it's probably Taurus that's 20 degrees and higher. I see different degrees for the strangulation, but it's usually the late degrees of Taurus. And one thing I do want to say, you see a lot of things about, serial killer is Taurus. Well, not really. They might be a Taurus, but it's really their collection of energy was around a very difficult fixed star, which is Algol, or the later degrees of Taurus. Now, there's a lot of people that I know who, not a lot, but some people I know who have planets right around Algol, and it can mean someone who loses their head over something, where it just can mean health problems too, maybe from the neck and up. But anyway, there's that neck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's tough. All right. So yes, Cheryl, Tauruses are stubborn, absolutely, and it's just a whole different energy in the end. Now, who is it? That actress? She's got Algol. She's one of the Kardashians' friends. Anyway, she's very beautiful, Megan. And she has a planet right by Algol, and often they're very beautiful when they're female, and lots of hair, like Medusa, because it's the Medusa fixed star. And so there's a lot of good things that can come to that person. They can be bestowed with beauty, but at the same time, they might be seen by others as the devil, as somebody who was like, nope, I'm out of here, or has just maybe bad things to say about other people. Maybe it's deserved, I don't know, but people can sometimes see you as the devil. Now, it could also translate into you writing about something that maybe the title has the devil in it, and you're known like the devil wears Prada. So that can also, it's just degrees of good and bad. So, okay. And for this last slide here, I pulled HH Holmes. Many of you know, I love that book, Devil in a White City, about the serial killer, HH Holmes. And it's set against the backdrop of the World's Fair in Chicago, and how this is a true story about how this man built a murder castle being Leo. Moon is home. So you can see in the 12th house there, this is HH Holmes, blue eyes. So often also the Gilgo murder. Is it Rex Howerman? Is that how you say his last name? You can tell I don't watch the news much, but not lately. Maybe I've just been too busy. But blue eyes, Neptune can touch that's your energy when you're being born. And So I said something kind of flippant on Instagram, never trust a man with blue eyes, but that's my experience. Sometimes they can be very good. They can be very creative. They can be painters, artists, actors. So that's the good side of it. But anyway, HH Holmes, he had blue eyes, built the murder castle. And you can see at the top of the chart, which is often the most strong, there's Uranus. He liked to strike. So, and where did he strike? He was able to strike in his home, Moon in Leo, the murder castle. So, but the biggest thing is look at those planets in Taurus and late degrees of Taurus right around alcohol. So, and what would the book be called that would be written about him? Devil in a White City. So he would be seen by the public as the devil. So, and the reason I brought him into the fold is because Mercury, or he had a soundproof room. That's how he tricked the people who came in to check into the hotel. So, so there could be some similarities there. We've got Mercury right up there in a big square to Jupiter and Moon. Mercury is to listen. I don't know. You guys will have to look at it. I'll have to look at it a little bit more, but I just thought I'd put this in here.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure if this is the date. I'm not sure if it's the actual time. So it's kind of confusing when you don't have the actual birth time. So, if I would
use if you don't have the actual birth time. Do you have a default that you go to, noon or?
Well, a lot of people will do noon. They'll just go to noon. But check out Saturn, which means to stop, just like in the last chart with the Gilgo murderer. It's squaring Sun and Mercury, which is to stop talking. So again, and then also Saturn is in Virgo, which is clothing. He used to take their clothing. And he used to burn it too, which is squaring Sun, which is to burn. So, it's weird looking at birth charts of murderers because they come into this existence.
Yeah.
Is that what they're supposed to do? You just want.
Well, the chart says so.
Shelley, that's so funny. Not a blue-eyed man fan. The thing about what I've seen this in my career, which has a long span because I'm Pisces and we just have different jobs all throughout our lives. And it's always the blue-eyed, like the baby faces. And the ones that I've seen, and there have been quite a few, so much deception. And then here's the thing. Hold on one second.
Well, all my grandkids have blue eyes, so but I'm sure there's other things in their chart that goes with just besides blue eyes.
They're all going to be painters.
Yeah.
Graphic
They are very creative.
My voice is going. But yeah, I knew I was going to say something, about the blue eyes that wasn't going to sit well with some of us because we all have a very nice person with blue eyes that we like. But they just seem to, I would say they tend to get away with stuff more. And maybe they have a better life because it's almost like they have a magic wand, like Obi-Wan, you do not want, what did he say in Star Wars? He was just like with the stormtroopers, that's somebody who has that Neptunian type of strength. I mean, it's almost like a superpower, but in this case, they use their superpower for bad. So something to think about. Now, okay, Lauren doesn't want any blue-eyed conspiracy theories. Okay.
I have blue eyes.
Anymore. Okay, so I think that's pretty much, how about this? Joy Thomas. I'm my reader, so to speak. I meet people, and 98% of the time I can tell you all about them.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I know. Okay. So that's all we have tonight. I'm losing my voice anyway.
Yeah.
But, Amy Jae, thank you so much for joining us. This
Thank you
was,
for having me. I always get so much out of this.
and hang on one second. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
We'll be on. I'm gonna send out another notice on the next time we're on. And tomorrow I'm turning on my membership, so I'm gonna have some new and exciting shows coming up, some educational videos, and no commercials. So keep a lookout for that, and we can also privately chat on these on the membership shows. So thank you so much, guys. Great to see you all again, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Amy.
Bye. Thank you.